Sorry. My name is Mr. Braden, and I'm the Associate Choir Director here at Atascocita High School. This is my 25th year to teach choral music in Texas, and my 21st in the Humble Independent School District. I taught middle school choir in Harlingen, Texas for 4 years prior to being here at Humble. When Ms. Diaz approached me last semester about the possibility of sharing my story about how it is and why it was that I decided to become a choral music educator, I was very apprehensive about delivering a speech of this nature, but she quickly calmed my fears. Pretty good for a young teacher who was once my student. I guess everybody taught you, Gabby. In the 6th grade. I think she did 6th grade choir for probably 6 weeks because she had to. But she definitely was in my history back then. So thanks for the invitation. I'm glad to be here. After a hard day at work, a father was patiently listening to a 7-year-old son pound away on the piano while the dog howled dismally nearby. The father was trying to be loving and understanding as a father is supposed to be, but the noise of the piano and the howling of the dog were beginning to be just a little too much for his already jangled nerves. Trying to be the good father as lovingly as he possibly could, he said, "Son, can't you play something the dog doesn't know?" My brothers and sisters can attest to the fact that I used to play the piano, and they didn't like it when I did that at about 6 o'clock in the morning on the days I had piano lessons. As good a place to start as any would be to explain that I come from a large family, 10 children, and both of my parents had college degrees. My mother was an English teacher for a few years during World War II, and shortly after she and my dad were married, and while my dad was in dental school here in Houston. After Dad finished dental school, and during the early 50s, my older brothers and sisters, the burgeoning Braden clan, they were called, moved from Houston to Temple to Waco and finally to San Marcos, and they settled there in about 1957. The family, like I said, grew to 10 children, and we became comfortably situated in a college community. That's important to my story. San Marcos being home to Southwest Texas State University at the time, now Texas State, San Marcos. Mostly Mom and Dad wanted us to be near a college so that when the time came, they could still afford to support our education and help us get our college degrees and send us out in the world to fend for ourselves. I do think it was expected that all of us attend college, but I can't recall the moment when it was spoken to any of us. Sometimes you just know things, the intrinsic. And that's also important to my story. I remember singing in school, beginning in kindergarten with the Catholic school, and Sister Catherine playing the guitar and teaching us the old Catholic hymns. I remember taking piano lessons during 2nd grade when I was 7, like the boy in the story, and only be allowed to start piano lessons because my piano teacher said my hands were big enough to cover the keys. Each of my brothers and sisters explored our interests in music, and many of them were in high school band and high school choir. My sisters all took piano lessons and quit after a few years. None of them continued. I was the only one that continued the piano well into high school. But they all explored other things such as athletics and drill teams, science club. Don't know why. I did not get the science gene in my family. Many of us were in the band, like I said, and my oldest brother actually met his future wife in the band at Southwest Texas. I guess you could say music was always important in our lives, but at first it didn't seem like any of us would make a living doing it. Maybe in the back of my mind, a little bit of sibling rivalry happened. I guess in the family of 10, you're going to have that. And the desire to do my own thing, you might say, led me to this profession. I'm not sure. I think it's an important side note that my brothers and sisters didn't, like I said, enjoy me practicing the piano on school days. They would yell from the bedroom, "Shut up, get off it." But a musician does what a musician has to do to get prepared. In high school, I do remember a comment from my piano teacher, who was really good with beginner students and intermediate students, that got me thinking really about what I wanted to do when I got older. I'd gotten pretty busy with life of being a high school student, with the choir and band, and other organizations such as NHS and German Club. So I quit taking piano lessons after my junior year in high school. Nothing against my teacher, but like I said, she was a specialist with beginners and intermediate students, and I had outgrown her. But what she said to me got me thinking. She said, "Carl, music is important to you, but it probably won't be your life." I had begun to enjoy the group efforts in band and choir and the camaraderie in those groups, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to pursue music or not. Perhaps she recognized that since my older siblings had explored music and gone on to other things, that maybe I might follow in that same path. Maybe she thought I was being pulled in another direction. I'm not sure. I'm sure she did not make the comment maliciously or with any sort of malintent, but it did get my wheels turning. What did I want to be when I grew up? Maybe that was my first wake-up call. Like I said, music had always been in our house when I was growing up. I listened to my mom's limited classical musical record collection and remember watching the Boston Pops concerts on PBS with her. Some of you don't even know what PBS is. I was American. I still listen to NPR. Sorry. My mom was a musician. She was a trumpet player and a singer, and actually had paid for some of her college tuition by singing in a student group at Lon Morris Junior College before she transferred to Sam Houston, where she and my dad finished their degrees. Most of my brothers and sisters, like I said, had participated in piano lessons and high school band and choir. My dad's deer hunting buddy was the band director, so we had a natural in the band. We were sort of, Daddy was friends with the band director, so he took band. When I began to progress with my piano lessons and actually took a few organ lessons from my teacher, who was a church organist herself, my mom was so excited because she had always wanted for one of her 6 sons to be a priest and thought it was terrific that I could sing and play, but she thought it was so wonderful that I could lead mass as the singing priest. I can honestly say I did not receive that call, but the music part was a definite issue I had to deal with. So in high school, after making the all-state choir in both my junior and senior years, I was left with what now? What do I do now? With a bit of encouragement and prodding from my high school choir director, I made my own call to Southwest Texas and the music department to schedule an audition for a vocal scholarship. I was very fortunate at that point to have such a good music department in my own hometown. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for doing that. And as a side note, all 10 of my brothers and sisters are graduates of Southwest Texas State University. After I sang on my vocal audition and at SWT at the time, the committee asked me about my academic standing in high school, and all I could tell them was I was in the top 5. We didn't do all the averaging things that you guys do. We didn't know our rank until the night of senior awards, and when they called out my name as salutatorian, that's the first I had heard about it. So I finished second in my high school class. And because I was in that academic level, the vocal audition committee wanted to award me a Young Artist Scholarship Award. And the only way to accept that award is I had to declare my major as music. So I guess because I wanted to go to school for free, it was a full 4-year, full-ride tuition to college. I accepted the award and declared music as my major, and not completely sure that I would finish the degree actually, but I thought I should give it a try, especially since I had received some sort of recognition at that point for my efforts. And I had not found anything else that really kept me going, the way the music and the singing and the piano playing had. Thank goodness I took that call and accepted that offer. At this point, I had not quit playing the piano, I just quit piano lessons. And I was also preparing an audition for the piano department as well, and after I played for the piano faculty at SWT, I was allowed to pursue majors in both piano and voice. After a relatively successful freshman year in college and in the music department, I did have second thoughts about my degree in music, only because I was concerned about the issue, what do I do with a music degree? Do I really want to teach?